This is ABC15 Mornings.
Our top story this half hour, preparing for flu season. It typically begins in early October. On average, 4,000 Arizonans end up in the hospital. 700 people die from influenza. State and health leaders say widespread flu vaccine coverage can help to prevent our hospitals from becoming overwhelmed. And the time, they say, to act is right now, before they say it's too late. Shipments of the flu vaccine are starting to pour into Arizona as we speak. Our John Genovese is live. And John, preparing now, they say, is the key to survival this winter for everyone.
Yeah, and Kaylee, more businesses and schools are beginning to open back up, and that means more people interacting with one another. And without a doubt, at some point, most of us will be exposed to the flu. Now, historically, for some reason, Arizona lags behind the rest of the country when it comes to getting a flu shot. Typically, less than half of us get the vaccine. And new this morning, here's one doctor who says this is not the year to skip.
For those people, those individuals that, usually may defer the flu shot, this may be the time to get it. This is something we know is effective. We know that it does prevent the transmission of influenza virus within the community. And as we continue to have persistent COVID-19 disease within our community, it's important for us to do the things that we can do to mitigate those other viruses that are present in there, such as flu.
Yeah, and this week the governor signed an executive order to track flu numbers. Beginning this month, hospitals have to report influenza cases, including positive or suspected cases inside hospitals, ICU beds in use by influenza patients, ventilators in use, and the number seen inside the ER each day. Hospitals are also working right now to make sure they have enough space to accommodate all of those potential influenza patients. And for some perspective, last year the state had around 35,000 cases. Guys.
Our John Genovese live. Now remember, the CDC is recommending a flu vaccine for everyone 6 months or older. You should talk with your healthcare provider on whether to get the shot or the nasal spray. Flu vaccines can take 2 weeks to become fully effective.
As we prepare for the flu season, schools across our state are reopening, and the remaining districts are making plans for how to bring students and staff back to campus. Today, we're expecting the State Department of Health Services to update us on how each county is doing when it comes to those benchmarks for reopening schools. As of last Thursday, 10 of Arizona's 15 counties had hit all 3 categories. We know education is a top priority for families in our state, so today ABC15 is hosting a virtual town hall event focusing on the state of our schools. You can watch live on the ABC15 Facebook page starting at noon and submit your questions to rebound at abc15.com.
Well, big talker this morning as you stretch and get ready, at least for your day, will be our weather. It's just gorgeous out there, Nick.
Oh, yeah, it's awesome. I'm walking the dog this morning. It's like, can it stay this way forever? Meteorologist Jorge Torres is in for Iris once again today. I mean, Jorge, please keep it this way.
Well, for at least today, it's going to stay this way. And for the next few days, at least in the morning, it should be rather comfortable. Look at these temperatures outside right now. The lone spot in the valley, at least according to our current map, that's in the 70s. Sky Harbor at 71. Everyone else in the upper 60s. Chandler 67. Mesa, Glendale at 69. Avondale, I should say now, it's 68 degrees. So a picture-perfect start on this Friday Eve morning. We're going to stay in the 60s and 70s for the next couple of hours, then heating up gradually throughout the day into the 80s by 10 and in the 90s by the afternoon, calling for a high of 94. So a perfect morning and a perfect afternoon for your runners, hikers, and bikers. That forecast for you runners out there before work or after work looking great, with temperatures eventually climbing, as I mentioned, into the lower 90s. But don't get used to it. We're talking about 100s back in our forecast as early as tomorrow, and I'll tell you how long that'll stick around coming up in your most accurate forecast.
I'm sure I feel like everyone else, and I'm like, no, let's just keep it like this. It's okay. We'll get there eventually. Hey, Chelsea Davis here. Happy Friday Eve, everyone. I'm watching the accident log group traffic maps. We still have a lot of green out there with our valley freeways, especially on the east side of town. Loop 202 South Mountain also looking clear if you're making your way over to the west side. North Valley, I-17, Carefree Highway, Loop 303, even the 101 from the East Valley all the way over to the west side of town showing green flows too. I-10, not many delays, but I-17 is a little slow. If you travel between the 101 down to the stack, it'll take you 23 minutes to go 12 miles, averaging around 30 miles per hour. or less once you get closer to the stack. Take a look at our ADOT camera. This is why there's a small crash. It's off to the right shoulder. Tow truck is finally there, so this should be clearing soon, but I'm just giving you that heads up to factor in extra time heading into downtown Phoenix.
Chelsea, thank you. After taking some heat for how they're reporting COVID-19 cases, ASU is now posting the total number of cases at the school. More than 1,300 students and employees have tested positive since August 1st. ABC 15's Mike Pelton hearing from the university president on how ASU is managing cases on campus.
Well, ASU President Michael Crow says they will now share the total number of students who have tested positive for COVID-19, including those who've been cleared of the virus. The total number of cases is something data and health experts say is important to publicly track trends. Now, the university reporting more than 48,000 tests since last month, with 807 current student cases as of Monday this week. Now, going forward, I also asked President Crow at what point ASU would have to switch to an all-online mode. He tells me it's several factors, including conditions in the community, along with random testing samples at ASU and data on the social spread, university spread, and capacity for isolating sick students. He says while the university had to already shuffle the housing situation to deal with virus spread, those numbers are decreasing.
This is our management strategy, so things are being managed. Let me just say also, Mike, that we think the health app, for instance, and the testing is here to stay. And you'd say, well, for how long? Forever. We don't see an environment where this disease is not something that we're trying to manage.
Now, among the student cases ASU knows about, university officials say they are asymptomatic and mild cases of COVID-19. In Tempe, Mike Pelton, ABC 15, Arizona.
Mike, thank you. A nationally known police reform advocate is filing a $2.4 million legal claim against the city of Phoenix. Bruce Franks Jr., a former Missouri state representative, recently relocated to Arizona, and he says he was politically prosecuted for leading a march to Phoenix police headquarters. Last month, the police department says Franks pushed back when officers tried to get protesters away from their doors. Franks is now charged with multiple felonies. He's calling for PD to release all the video from this incident, which he believes will prove his innocence.
We are the accountability measure in so many ways for the government, for the police, for everything that's happening. When you try to infringe on our First Amendment rights, then it looks to us as if you don't want to be held accountable, and that's a problem.
In response to Frank's claim, Phoenix police issued a statement saying the department respects the rights of all community members to exercise their First Amendment rights. During demonstrations, our goal is to ensure the safety of everyone involved. Some activists tell us that Phoenix police are making things less safe and intimidating protesters with arrests. In addition to Franks, more demonstrators have plans to file lawsuits. There's even talk about a possible class action suit. They say this is less about money and more about sending a message.
I think it does send a message. Importantly, it's not something that the city can ignore.
I believe that it will help make an impact, hoping that things will change.
This week with our news partners KTAR, Police Chief Jerry Williams said the department has risen to the occasion and handled protests well, in her opinion.
The city of Phoenix rejecting the request to paint a Black Lives Matter street mural. Officials citing existing regulations and safety concerns. The city manager saying in a letter that any non-standard markings on a city street are not allowed.
Mornings, a deadly wildfire emergency on the West Coast. The latest on the dangerous fires right now and the devastation left behind.
And are you ready for some football? The 2020 NFL season finally kicking off tonight. The new safety measures in place for both fans and athletes. 6/11 and historic wildfires raging on the West Coast, forcing thousands of people to leave their homes just this morning. In fact, the governor of Oregon says this could be the greatest loss of life and property from wildfires in that state's history. ABC's Kenneth Moten shares more.
This morning, high winds and high heat fueling nearly 200 major fires on the West Coast. Some of them wiping out entire neighborhoods. New video near Portland, Oregon showing rows of homes destroyed. These satellite images showing towns before and then after the fire.
This is insane.
Oh, you can feel it.
Oh my God, people, go.
Oregon's governor saying at least 35 large fires are burning across the state, warning the damages could be catastrophic.
This could be the greatest loss of human lives and property due to wildfire in our state's history.
Overnight, a 12-year-old boy and his grandmother identified as two of those victims from a wildfire south of Portland. The two disappeared early Tuesday after getting separated from their family as flames forced them to evacuate. The boy's father spoke to reporters earlier in the day when rescuers were still searching for them.
My family means everything to me.
And now, tragedy in Washington, where a 1-year-old has died near Spokane. Firefighters finding the family's severely burned truck near their home. The child's parents left in critical condition. In California, nearly 14,000 firefighters called to the front lines, fighting dozens of major wildfires. In the Bay Area, an apocalyptic orange-tinged sky. San Francisco's Golden Gate Bridge barely visible in this picture, taken in the middle of the day. And now, hundreds of thousands of families facing the task of rebuilding their lives.
The house ain't even recognizable. It's just not, there's nothing. I'm so surprised that the people was able to get out of here alive, looking at what there is. It's hard to believe.
Kenneth Moten, ABC News, New York.
Obviously, thoughts and prayers going out to those being affected by those wildfires in California and Oregon. And one of the big reasons why they're dealing with that, well, one, the heat that was ongoing throughout the summer and the dry conditions. In fact, here in Arizona, we got a taste of that too. This was not only the hottest summer on record for Arizona, but also the driest summer in recorded history. And that's why the latest drought monitor shows the majority of Arizona still under some form of drought. Now more than half of the state under an extreme drought because of the lack of that monsoon storm activity. Again, we had a couple of storms just a couple of days ago, but that's about it. And it's looking bone dry for a while. Here's a look at the reason why we expect that to be the case. Futurecast is showing the storm that produced the high winds and the cooler temperatures a couple of days ago now racing to the east. And in its place will be this ridge of high pressure that will also mean temperatures reaching 100 degrees and plus starting tomorrow through early next week. Also have to monitor the air quality very carefully due to the wildfire smoke coming from California. For today, though, the outlook's looking okay. The air quality outlook is showing moderate conditions for ozone and particle pollution here in the Phoenix metro, where temperatures are in the lower 70s. So at least we can talk about what is a nice start to this Thursday morning. 28 at the Grand Canyon, 27 along the rim, too, out toward Heber. So it is feeling like fall in many parts of northern Arizona, even here in the valley, too. Look at Prescott, 44, Sedona, 50, and Payson, 48 degrees to the west. Temperatures generally in the mid and upper 60s, with highs today climbing once again into the low to mid 90s, but still we'll take this forecast, at least compared to how it looked just a few days ago, with highs between 110 and 115 here in parts of the valley. Today, though, 94, 75 in Prescott, Flagstaff, one of the cooler spots at 67, Upth Road and Page, 71 and 83 in Kingman. The planner for the rest of the day showing those temperatures starting off in the 70s and staying that way through at least about 9 o'clock or so. And then by mid-morning, we're in the 80s and in the 90s by the afternoon. So we took a big dip in temperatures from earlier this week to yesterday. 109 the high on Monday, 99 Tuesday, down to 90 yesterday. Today we're calling for that high of 94 and then back to 100 degrees tomorrow and staying that way for the next several days after that. Here is that 7-day forecast. Sunny skies, though, will continue through at least the early part of the weekend with lows in the mid and upper 70s. So pleasant starts to the days will continue. But then beginning Sunday, those morning lows will be a little bit warmer, right around 80 degrees Sunday. Mostly sunny skies to wrap up the weekend, but heating up with a high of 105. And we're going to stay anywhere from 103 to 104 early next week with lows in the 80s. So at least we can enjoy today with highs in the 90s.
ABC 15 Desert Drive Time, sponsored by Accident Law Group.
Absolutely. I'm thinking between my traffic hits, I need to get outside and feel those temperatures. And hopefully you get to do that too. Hey, I'm watching the Accident Law Group traffic maps, and desert drive times for most of the freeways look pretty good. I-17 has the longest one right now, 23 minutes to go southbound between Loop 101 down to the stack, and that's because there's a crash there. But before we get there, let me show you a wide view of the commute in case that's not where you travel. East side of town, all of your valley freeways are looking great. US 60 either into and out of the valley, State Route 347 into and out out of Maricopa. Loop 202 Red Mountain starts to slow down normally in the westbound direction before you get to the mini stack, but we're not seeing that today. All green flows between the 101 over to the mini stack. North Valley, I-17, Carefree Highway, Loop 303, all good to go. I-17 looks clear even if you want to start your weekend early and maybe head up north. West side of town, barely any breaks on I-10 making your way into downtown Phoenix, but I-17 you will see some delays back to about Glendale because of that crash near McDowell. 12 minutes to go southbound from Glendale down to the mini stack, or down to the stack, just in case you were curious there. And that's a stretch of only 5 miles, so just factor a few extra minutes. Take a look at our ADOT cam. There's activity that's off to the right shoulder, but it's not blocking any lanes. Tow trucks on the scene. This crash is going to be gone in no time, and when it is, all those brakes will go too.
Chelsea, thanks. So today marks a serious day of awareness. It is World Suicide Prevention Day. As of 2017, suicide was the 10th leading cause of death here in the U.S. Experts say some ways to prevent suicide include reducing access to firearms and medication and training healthcare workers and educators to recognize the signs of suicidal behavior. A new federal report finds kids are vaping less this year. A national survey showing e-cigarette use among high schoolers went from 28% last year down to 20% this year. It also dropped among middle schoolers. Health experts believe last year's vaping outbreak may have scared off some kids, but there were also big changes to how vaping products were sold. UPS announcing plans to hire 100,000 seasonal employees as the company prepares for the holiday season. Positions include package handlers and drivers. You can apply at upsjobs.com.
Well, it is the day football fans have been waiting for. The NFL is back tonight. Defending Super Bowl champs, the Kansas City Chiefs will be hosting the Houston Texans. But with the threat of coronavirus, the season is going to look different. On the field, no cheerleaders, mascots, or sideline reporters. Inside the stadium tonight, masks are required, and concession stands are going to be cashless.
We started planning for this back in March, so to get to the point where we're now at kickoff really feels like a terrific accomplishment, but we know that it's only part of the journey. We've still got a long season in front of us.
Well, tonight's game there in Kansas City is one of just 6 stadiums where fans will be allowed, like 17,000 fans, as opposed to, I believe, about 70. Just 22% of those seats will be filled. The Arizona Cardinals are going to be heading to San Francisco for their season opener Sunday. The first game at State Farm Stadium is September 20th. The team just announcing 8 captains for the season. One of them is QB Kyler Murray. Well, a new side effect of COVID-19. Parents, this morning, there's a warning. How this virus is impacting a specific group of kids.
And Americans are getting unemployment benefits right now. But is more help on the way from Congress. And what's happening today in our nation's capital? Plus, you can get ABC 15 News 24/7 on the ABC 15 News app. Stream live news and get important updates on today's stories on Roku and these streaming devices.
6:23, we don't have to tell you, kids across the country have worked really hard adapting to virtual learning and social distancing during the pandemic. But if you have a daughter in junior high right now, a new study is sharing why things might be particularly tough for this group. The past 6 months have been tough for everyone.
Most of them are wondering, when will this be over? How much longer do I have? Just you feel like the rug is getting yanked out from under you over and over again.
A new survey shows girls in 5th through 8th grades, though, are dealing with this much harder. 79% report feeling more isolated and lonely.
Girls like to talk, and I think it's harder to get that need met because it's a little different to be talking virtually versus being in person.
Because they are not seeing their friends and classmates, girls are turning to social media, some using their phones up to 6 hours a day. More screen time leads to more stress, anxiety, and depression.
Girls are struggling even without COVID. In a normal world, they're struggling, and then you isolate them. And I think it's really hard for them to navigate their new space.
The experts say it's okay for girls to be sad, but parents, we need to find ways to tap into their creativity.
There isn't enough space in this isolation period for girls to feel like people are listening, people are interacting with them. And parents and caregivers can really do a great job by just making space for them to pay attention to their girl, have conversations with them, read with them.
It's that one-on-one time. So much of this is about connection, right? And reminding our girls they are not alone, and that other girls might be feeling insecure as well. Experts are also saying you should look for changes in behavior, like maybe sleeping too much or maybe not enough.
The face mask of the future is here. LG Electronics creating a battery-powered filtered face mask. It's designed to reduce problems like breathing difficulties and fogged up glasses. The Puri Care wearable weighs about as much as ski goggles. It has 2 fans and high-efficiency particulate air filters that clean air coming in and out, use a UV light to disinfect it, and there is no price just yet. Looks fancy.
Yeah, it does. Up next at 6:30 here on ABC 15 Mornings, there are plenty of studies showing overcrowded classrooms and the negative effects on both students and teachers. Is the problem getting worse, though, as more people adapt to online learning?
Well, another Valley School District laying out its plan for in-person instruction. And coming up, we'll break down what it entails and how it's giving parents a choice.